Welcome back in part 2 of Apple. Anyways, let's continue. The company pivoted strategy and, in October 1990, introduced 3 lower-cost models, the Macintosh Classic, the Macintosh LC, and the Macintosh 2 Sci, all of which generated significant sales due to pent-up demand.
In 1991, Apple introduced the hugely successful PowerBook with a design that set the current shape for almost all modern laptops.
The same year, Apple introduced System 7, a major upgrade to the Macintosh operating system, adding color to the interface and introducing new networking capabilities. The success of the lower-cost Macs and the PowerBook brought increasing revenue.
For some time, Apple was doing very well, introducing fresh new products and increasing profits.
The magazine Mac, nicknamed the period between 1989 and 1991 as the first golden age of the Macintosh. The success of lower-cost consumer Macs, especially the LC, cannibalized higher-priced machines.
To address this, management introduced several new brands, selling largely identical machines at different price points for different markets. The high-end Quadra series, the mid-range Centris series, and the consumer-marketed Performa series.
This led to significant consumer confusion between so many models. In 1993, the Apple II series was discontinued.
It was expensive to produce, and the company decided it was still absorbing sales from lower-cost Macintosh models.
After the launch of the LC, Apple encouraged developers to create applications for Macintosh rather than Apple II, and authorized salespersons to redirect consumers from Apple II and toward Macintosh.
The Apple IIe was discontinued in 1993.
Apple experimented with several other unsuccessful consumer-targeted products during the 1990s, including quick, take digital cameras, power CD portable CD audio players, speakers, the Pippin video game console, the eWorld online service, and Apple Interactive Television Box.
Enormous resources were invested in the problematic Newton tablet division, based on John Scully's unrealistic market forecasts.
Throughout this period, Microsoft continued to gain market share, with Windows High focusing on delivering software to inexpensive personal computers, while Apple was delivering a richly engineered but expensive experience.
Apple relied on high profit margins and never developed a clear response. It sued Microsoft for making a GUI similar to the Lisa in Apple Computer, Incorporated v. Microsoft Core.
The lawsuit dragged on for years and was finally dismissed.
The major product flops and the rapid loss of market share to Windows sullied Apple's reputation, and in 1993 Scully was replaced as CEO by Michael Spindler.
Under Spindler, Apple, IBM, and Motorola formed the AIM Alliance in 1994 to create a new computing platform, the PowerPC Reference Platform or PREP, with IBM and Motorola hardware coupled with Apple software.
The AIM Alliance hoped that PREP's performance and Apple software would leave the PC far behind and thus counter the dominance of Windows.
That year, Apple introduced the Power Macintosh, the first of many computers, with Motorola's PowerPC processor. In the wake of the alliance, Apple opened up to the idea of allowing Motorola and other companies to build Macintosh clones.
Over the next 2 years, 75 distinct Macintosh clone models were introduced.
However, by 1996, Apple executives were worried that the clones were cannibalizing sales of its own high-end computers, where profit margins were highest. In 1996, Spindler was replaced as CEO by Gil Amelio, who was hired for his reputation as a corporate rehabilitator.
Amelio made deep changes, including extensive layoffs and cost-cutting.
This period was also marked by numerous failed attempts to modernize the Macintosh operating system, Mac OS.
The original Macintosh operating system, System 1, was not built for multitasking, running several applications at once.
The company attempted to correct this by introducing cooperative multitasking in System 5, but still decided it needed a more modern approach.
This led to the Pink Project in 1988, A/UX that same year, Copland in 1994, and evaluated the purchase of the OS in 1996.
Talks would be stalled when the CEO, former Apple executive Gene Lucasy, demanded $300 million in contrast to Apple's $125 million offer.
Only weeks away from bankruptcy, Apple's board preferred next step and purchased Next in late 1996 for $400 million, retaining Steve Jobs.
The Next acquisition was finalized on February 9, 1997, and the board brought Jobs back to Apple as an advisor.
On July 9, 1997, Jobs staged a boardroom coup, which resulted in Amelio's resignation after overseeing a 3-year record low stock price and crippling financial losses.
The board made Jobs as interim CEO and he immediately reviewed the product lineup.
Jobs canceled 70% of models, and in 3000 Jobs entering to the core of its computer offerings.
The next month, in August 1997, Steve Jobs convinced Microsoft to make a $150 million investment in Apple and a commitment to continue developing Mac software.
This was seen as an antitrust insurance policy for Microsoft, which had recently settled with the Department of Justice over anti-competitive practices in the United States v. Microsoft court case.
Around then, Jobs donated Apple's internal library and archives to Stanford University to focus more on the present and the future rather than the past.
He ended the Mac clone deals and in September 1997, purchased the largest clone maker, Tower Computing.
On November 10, 1997, the Apple Store website launched, which was tied to a new built-to-order manufacturing model similar to PC manufacturer Dell's Success.
The moves paid off for Jobs. At the end of his first year as CEO, the company had a $309 million profit.
On May 6, 1998, Apple introduced a new all-in-one computer reminiscent of the original Macintosh, the iMac.
The iMac was a huge success, with 800,000 units sold in its first 5 months, and ushered in major shifts in the industry by abandoning legacy technologies like the 3.5-inch diskette, being an early adopter of a USB connector, and coming pre-installed with Internet connectivity (VI) in iMac via Ethernet and a dial-up modem.
Its striking teardrop shape and translucent materials were designed by Jonathan Ive, who had been hired by Amelio and who collaborated with Jobs for more than a decade to reshape Apple's product design. A little more than a year later, on July 21, 1999, Apple introduced the iBook consumer laptop.
It culminated Jobs' strategy to produce only 4 products: refined versions of the Power Macintosh G3 desktop and PowerBook G3 laptop for professionals, and the iMac desktop and iBook laptop for consumers.
Jobs said the small product line allowed for a greater focus on quality and innovation. Around then, Apple also completed numerous acquisitions to create a portfolio of digital media production software for both professionals and consumers.
Apple acquired Macromedia's key-grip digital video editing software project, which was launched as Final Cut Pro in April 1999.
Keygrip's development also led to Apple's release of a consumer video editing product iMovie in October 1999.
Apple acquired the German company Start in April 2000, which had developed the DVD authoring software DV Director, which Apple repackaged as the professional-oriented DVD Studio Pro, and reused its technology to create iDVD for the consumer market.
In 2000, Apple purchased the SoundGen MP audio player software from Cassidy and Green.
Apple renamed the program iTunes, simplified the user interface, and added CD burning.
In 2001, Apple changed course with 3 announcements.
First, on March 24, 2001, Apple announced the release of a new modern operating system, Mac OS X.
This was after numerous failed attempts in the early 1990s and several years of development.
Mac OS X is based on Next Step, OpenStep, and BSD Unix to combine the stability, reliability, and security of Unix with the ease of use of an overhauled user interface.
Second, in May 2001, the first 2 Apple Store retail locations opened in Virginia and California, offering an improved presentation of the company's products.
At the time, many speculated that the stores would fail, but they became highly successful, and the first of more than 500 stores around the world.
Third, on October 23, 2001, the iPod portable digital audio player debuted.
The product was first sold on November 10, 2001, and was extremely successful, with over 100 million units sold within 6 years.
In 2003, the iTunes Store was introduced with music downloads for 99 cents a song and iPod integration.
It quickly became the market leader in online music services, with over 5 billion downloads by June 19, 2008.
2 years later, the iTunes Store was the world's largest music retailer. In 2002, Apple purchased Nothing Real for its advanced digital compositing application Shake and Magic for the music productivity application Logic.
The purchase of Magic made Apple the first computer manufacturer to own a music software company.
The acquisition was followed by the development of Apple's consumer-level GarageBand application.
The release of iPhoto that year completed the iLife suite.
At the Worldwide Developers Conference keynote address on June 6, 2005, Jobs announced that Apple would move away from PowerPC processors and the Mac would transition to Intel processors in 2006.
On January 10, 2006, the new MacBook Pro and iMac became the first Apple computers to use Intel's Core Duo CPU.
By August 7, 2006, Apple made the transition to Intel chips for the entire Mac product line over 1 year sooner than announced.
The Power Mac, iBook, and PowerBook brands were retired during the transition. The Mac Pro, MacBook, and MacBook Pro became their respective successors.
Apple also introduced Boot Camp in 2006 to help users install Windows XP or Windows Vista on their Intel Macs alongside Mac OS X. Apple's success during this period was evident in its stock price.
Between early 2003 and 2006, the price of Apple stock increased more than tenfold, from around $6 per share, split adjusted, to over $80.
When Apple surpassed Dell's market cap in January 2006, Jobs sent an email to Apple employees saying Dell CEO Michael Dell should eat his words.
9 years prior, Dell had said that if he ran Apple he would shut it down and give the money back to the shareholders. We will continue about Apple in part 3. To be continued.